please, ladies and gentlemen.
And can't ask much more than that, can he?
That I really like.
Step right up, all you freaks, geeks, and cinemaniacs. From the heart of Hollyweird, California, at the epicenter of all things eerie and awesome, it's time for Charles Band's Full Moon Freak Show.
Dee Wallace is a genre film icon, having had her first major role in Wes Craven's 1977 classic, The Hills Have Eyes, followed by a startling lead performance in Joe Dante's werewolf masterpiece, The Howling. The latter part helped land her the role as the mom in Steven Spielberg's juggernaut sci-fi family hit E.T., and soon afterwards as yet more moms encountering the unknown in the 1983 adaptation of Stephen King's CUJO and the cult creature feature Critters. Since then, Dee has worked for greats like Peter Jackson and Rob Zombie, has appeared at least once in almost every TV series over the past 50 years, and has also found herself a second career as a self-help guru. Dee, welcome to the Freak Show.
I will try to live up to that intro.
Well, I mean, your career is insane. Really.
It's really been a blessed career.
Right.
It has. I just got some of the best movies at the best time.
Yeah.
And I was that beautiful blonde little virgin.
Yes.
That
Thanks for inserting virgin in there.
in my dreams. Mm-hmm. Who was also could be a ball buster, you know?
Strong woman.
Yeah. So that was just in when I was coming up, and I hit at the right time.
So I've seen probably not every show because a lot of TV, but I've seen all the movies because we love movies, obviously. And I grew up in Italy and then came back to this country when I was in my early 20s and started my bizarre career. But I saw American Werewolf. No, not that one. What was it? What's the
boy?
Fuck that. Okay, hold on. We're gonna.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry,
Let's keep that in.
And the reason why is because in Italy the names were completely different, right?
Honey, people do it all the time.
No. But I saw that movie, and the point is, you spoke the most amazing Italian because the gal who dubbed you. I mean, they're incredible voice artists in Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do a good job, and she had your tone of voice and.
Really, because that's hard to match.
I
my
know.
voice.
No, she had a ballsy voice, and she was great. I thought, oh my God, this blonde, hot virgin chick is such an amazing character in this movie. Sorry, I messed up the title. How embarrassing!
It's okay. Let's say it though. The Howling.
Yes, The Howling.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, fine. All right. Well, anyway, so many great movies, but I wanted to talk more about so you're on set on these movies. You've made a bunch of films, right? And you work
300.
What?
Yeah, I have 300 300 film credits. I know.
I'm speechless.
Staggered.
That is shocking.
I know. I'm just a little Energizer bunny. What can I say?
And then we're here in Pittsburgh at the Horror Realm convention. It's exactly where we are doing this. I know you've made a lot of movies. That is overwhelmingly amazing.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin? What movie? How do we pluck something? Talk about any movie that you had an experience that was
Well, let me
unique.
tell you how I got started.
Right.
Okay, I was a high school teacher.
Really?
And in the library, we got the New York Times. And I read in the New York Times that Hal Prince, the biggest producer on Broadway, was looking for an unknown to star in A Little Night Music. So I wrote him this very cheesy letter with this cheesier picture. Let me show you. I was on my bed going, oh my God, I so wish I'd kept that and the letter.
You don't have the.
And I said, Mr. Prince, just think what it would be like, an unknown from Kansas, right? 3 weeks later, I get a call from his secretary, Mr. Prince has received your letter, and he'd like to fly to New York to audition.
Oh my God!
So
You must have just
being the very
shocked.
honest Midwestern Kansas girl that I was, I said, "Oh wow, that's great. I already have my flight coming in. When does he need me?" Like he would have flown me first class and the whole thing. So the auditions were on the day that I arrived in New York. And I took all my belongings, everything I had, put them in a taxi and said, "Hi, I'm going to audition for Hal Prince. Could you take these to this address?" And they all got there, by the way.
In New York. This is back during a rough period, too, in New York.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Wait a second. So because the audition was so tightly booked after your arrival? Then
I had to go straight down to Rockefeller Center. And I got down to the last 5 girls after the acting and the dancing.
Oh, wow.
And they said, "All right, Mr. Prince would like you to sing." And I went, "Oh, I didn't know we had to sing." His secretary looked at me like I just landed from Mars, and she said,
or Kansas.
"Well, dear, it is a musical."
No.
So Mr. Prince, God love him, he says, "That's okay, honey. Just sing Happy Birthday for me."
Oh, no.
And the accompanist said, "What key?" And I went,
I don't know.
"Somewhere in the middle." Needless to say, I did not get that part, but I was there with some of the best gypsies dancers in New York, and I got a great singing teacher and who to study with. I already knew that I wanted to study with Uta Hagen.
Wait, so you actually moved to New York? That was your...
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So I missed that. So you didn't fly in for this. You were going there anyway.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had all your stuff, went to someplace, hotel, wherever you were staying.
No,
did
I
the
rented
audition.
an apartment.
Oh, my God. What a great story.
I mean,
talk about
naivete.
Talk about naivete and balls all combined.
Well, you know, it's
I mean,
easier
seriously.
to have balls when you're naive.
Yes.
Because when you're naive, you're not full of fear.
You're right.
You just go, all right, I'm going to go be a
Right.
movie star.
No, but you're inspired, you're driven, you know, there's a lot going on that we don't even know about. And the fact that you managed to make that happen, to connect those dots is remarkable because
Yeah, it is pretty much.
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
People dream of this stuff, but when I hear these stories, I go, okay, wow. So did that particular connection with that audition, I love the fact that you didn't know it was a musical. That's actually pretty funny.
Well, I did know it was a
But
musical.
you weren't prepared.
It's just nobody told me I was going to have
the plan
to
was.
sing. I don't
Wow.
know.
No, it's great. It's great. Well, that's part of your charm, obviously. So rewinding. Okay, so now you're in New York.
Yep, now I'm in
And
New
we can
York.
jump all over the place, but this story already is fascinating. So you're in New York, and you got your stuff somewhere, a friend, wherever you stayed. And then how long did it take before you got like your first paying gig?
Well, I met a guy at an open call.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I got there in August.
Okay.
I met a guy at an open call, and we went to lunch, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to a Halloween party. Mm-hmm. You want to come with me? I went, yeah, sure. He said, well, it's a costume party, so you got to put something together, right? So I got a little leotard because I didn't have any money, and got a piece of fur for a tail and put on some. And I was really, really in shape.
Right.
And we tripped off to that party. And at the end of the party, these three people came up to me and said, you know, we'd like you to stop by the office on Monday. We think maybe we'd like to work with you. And I went, oh, cool. What do you do? They were some of the biggest commercial agents at the time in New York, Marge Fields. So I signed with them. The first commercial I went out for was United Airlines. I'll show you what I did. Okay. I was the friendship girl, and I booked it.
No dialogue, that was it? Just
that was it.
The happy face, sweet face.
But, you know, this smile has gotten me a lot of things in this business, including E.T.
Wow.
And, because I had just borrowed $1,000 from my older brother.
Okay.
You know, in Kansas, the amount of money that I went to New York with you could have lived half a year on.
Right.
Yeah, it was gone in a month and a half.
Right. And yeah.
But I booked this commercial, and I think I ended up making $20,000.
Which today is like $200,000. I mean, this is roughly when, or do you want to
late 70s?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Wow. So suddenly you're like this hot chick with dough. I mean, come on, seriously. I'm just telling it like it's gotta be.
I went to audition with this gentleman,
right,
for Uta Hagen.
Oh, okay.
And he said, well, what are you going to audition with? And I said, well, I did this little play in Kansas, Mary, Mary. And he went, Dee, you can't audition for Uta Hagen with Mary, Mary. You've got to do a classic.
Right.
I said, well, you know, I really know this part, and I was really comfortable in it. Let's just do a scene. And he said, I'm going to tell you, she's going to stop you after 5 minutes. And just know that most of us had to audition 5 or 6 times to get in with Uta Hagen.
Right.
So we go in and we start the audition, and about 5 minutes in, she said, I'm going to stop you there. And he goes... And she looks at me and she said, who did you study with? And I said, well, Miss Hagen, really, mostly my mom. And I see this guy go. And she looked at me and she said, well, she taught you very well. I'd love to have you in my class.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
And I went.
Exactly. Good for you.
So I just, you know, I was just kind of guided, and I went in to interview for this receptionist job, and the director of Stepford Wives walked by, and he walked by again, and I thought, my God, this business guy's going to hit on me, right? And he walked over, he said, are you an actress? I said, I am. He said, you want to be in a movie? And I went, I do. And so that was my first, like, film credit was The German Maid.
Oh,
I played the German.
I
don't even remember what her name was.
I am so going to look at this movie again because wow.
So I think I had 2 lines, and my biggest line was, yeah. But I was on a
roll.
a Hollywood film set with 3 major actresses.
Oh, boy, so you went out to, this was in L.A. that this was shot?
No, this was in New York.
In New York.
Yeah.
I
know, it's like the Yellow Brick Road.
Well,
kind of like my life. I auditioned for used cars. I didn't get it.
Right.
Thank God when E.T. came along, Steven just called and offered me ET. So
Unbelievable.
I'm telling you, there's something about that Kansas magic.
Yeah, but you have this unique talent. I mean, let's face it. Who else is like Dee Wallace? Nobody that I can think of. So you have a talent, and it takes a little luck. We know in life it's not all. It's a little magic. Someone's got to help you from above or beyond, because it's tricky. But
it all starts in you.
Absolutely.
And I want everybody out there to know that too. If you're in alignment and joy and love with what you do, the universe finds you.
Right.
Like all those stories, I didn't make a big effort putting it out there, but I magnetized stuff to me because I just love doing it.
If you have some sort of song or magic in your heart, for me, I've just been able to, in my bizarre, crazy career, just keep on a track that I just know I'm going to be going okay, and things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, because I sound like, well, what are you talking about? But
you're talking about knowing.
Yeah.
There's a place in us where we all know.
Yeah.
And when you live in the knowing instead of the doubts, then you magnetize to you the things that you want.
Yeah, and I think you attract people like that. And you want to be with people who are positive.
And here we are.
And here we are. Dee, so cute. Little hot chick. Came to New York in the 70s from the Midwest.
Yeah.
I love the story.
Never been out of Kansas in my life.
Wow.
When I moved to New York.
Good for you.
By myself.
But you live in L.A. now or New York still?
L.A.
Okay. So at some point you transitioned over to the...
Yeah. And at that time, there was a big joke going around that the actor from New York and the actor from L.A. met in the middle and said, go back, there's no work.
Right. Okay.
But again, I got out to L.A. One of my friends from New York had been out there, and he found out I was coming out, and he said, I can't get a commercial agent. I've been everywhere.
Right.
You're hot in commercials. Mm-hmm. I've got a great theatrical agent.
Oh, wow.
I'll set you up a meeting if you... So we did, and we both got signed.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what brought you to Los Angeles, though, right?
No. What brought me to Los Angeles was I was a CUJO peanut.
You were what? Say that again.
I was a CUJO peanut.
Okay.
CUJO peanut butter was a big item at the time, and so I did a lot of industrials because I danced.
Okay.
And found out I could sing.
Wow.
And I can still remember we had these hot pink high cut outfits
as
on
peanuts
with this big peanut eye
right
on us, and we would go CUJO peanut with the googly eyes.
Oh, no way. Oh, how funny.
Yep.
But
and I danced my way
to the West Coast.
To the West Coast, and I thought, I'm going to stay for a while and see if there's anything out here for me.
And isn't how it happens? And the wild became how many years?
Well, I started booking stuff right away.
Right.
And, back then, it was, and today, very hard to get onto the sets. You had to get past the guards and all that stuff. So I did what we all did back in the Midwest.
Right.
I baked chocolate chip cookies. And I put them in these pretty baskets and wrapped them up with cellophane and bows and put them in my backseat. And I would go to the studios and go, hi, I've got deliveries. Okay, going through. So
I love it.
I went to Universal and I was delivering my cookies to all the casting directors. And the last one was Reuben Cannon, who was the head of casting. And he came out as I was dropping, Oh, chocolate chip cookies, my favorite. Come on in.
Oh, my God.
So I told him I just got here from Kansas because that was a much better line than
Than
New
New
York.
York.
And
Oh.
while I was in the office, he gets a telephone call. And pretty soon he covers the phone. He says, "What size do you wear?" I said, "What size do you need, honey?" He said, "Can you fit in a 4?" And I went, "Shit, I don't know." Absolutely.
Right.
So I went down and somehow got into that costume, and that was my first TV.
Which was what, just for fun? What was the...
I was the waitress in a bar restaurant where Barry Sullivan had a heart attack.
Okay.
And I had
Had
to take care of him. So we did the first take, and the AD comes over and says, "Miss Williams." I said, "It's Wallace." He said, "Mr. Sullivan is asking you please not to touch him because you're a minor player."
What? Did
And
I
I
hear
went,
that right? What?
Holy shit, this really happens? I'd read the story. So I thought, okay, but I'm supposed to be taking care of him,
Right,
loosening
right.
his tie and holding his head up. And
Oh, my God.
he said, "Yeah, I know, but figure out something else." And I thought, well, the only other way there is to play it like a dumb blonde who's
Right.
so scared and flustered.
Doesn't know what to
so
do.
that's what I did. Oh, my God. Oh, somebody's
Dee,
got
that is an incredible story. What a weirdo.
No.
Because you're a
it's-
minor player?
It's the way it was done back then.
Well,
he
that-
was a major movie star.
Hey, I've heard thousands of
Right.
I've not heard that story. But by the way, your trick on how to get on those sets, it's not
Genius,
similar
huh?
at all. It's genius. But we just spent some time with William Forsythe. He would dress up in a gorilla costume.
That
And-
does not surprise me.
In a gorilla costume, and that's how he sneaked in. So I don't know who's watching and thinking, oh, that's either cookies or a gorilla costume, but don't try it today. The world's different.
Well, I just sent a letter off to Dick Wolf.
Okay.
I love everything Dick Wolf does.
Okay.
I love every show he has on the air. And so my little voice within me said, well, it worked in the beginning. Why don't you do it now? So
Right.
I wrote him a great letter and sent it off about a week ago. So
Great idea.
look for me on a Dick Wolf show.
You know something? And maybe you should have put in some of those good cookies, too. You know,
Yeah.
You cannot refuse.
Or
look,
another cheesy.
Pretty girl chocolate chip
picture.
cookies. Come on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you got it.
Hi, chocolate chip cookies from
So
Kansas.
sweet. Wow. Stay tuned. There's more Freak Show after this quick break.
Enter the terrifying world of Delirium magazine. Horror, sci-fi, thriller, exploitation, exclusive interviews, jaw-dropping photos. Subscribe today at www.deliriummagazine.com and www.fullmoonhorror.com. It's the wildest movie magazine around. Delirium.
And now back to the Freak Show. You must have had no period where you were just kind of chill, because 300 movies, if you do the math, that's an insane amount of movies.
It is an insane amount of movies.
I mean-
Some of them, I hope nobody ever sees.
Well, whatever.
But
It's all part of your work.
Them I'm, little and small. There were reasons that I chose to do
Oh
them
yeah,
all.
for sure.
So-
Plus, that you're on that wonderful roll. You're
Yeah.
just it's just forward motion too.
Yeah.
It's. But
I'm
okay, so tell
going-
a story that no one's heard about one of these movies. It doesn't have to be one of the big ones, because everyone's going to ask you about E.T., but there must be some really unique stories that are germane
Oh,
to.
you have no idea.
I think I do.
I'm actually writing a book called Horror Stories from the Life in Horror Films,
Oh wow. Okay.
because the behind-the-scenes stuff
Mm-hmm.
is most of the time much better
Right.
than even what you...
Let's hear a real good one.
Okay, well, CUJO,
Okay.
for example. It was like our last day on this ranch, and there were a couple of pickup shots
Right.
that they realized that they needed. So the B camera operator and the makeup assistant and I went down into this ravine on the ranch, right? And we got all the way down there, and we're losing the light, and I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, I've got blood and mud and everything all over my face." And she said, "Well, I have blood, Dee, but I don't have any of the fake dirt with me." And she looks around, and there's a little mud pile because we're shooting on a ranch.
Right.
And she said, "What do you think?" And I went, "Well, do we have a choice?"
Right.
So she picked up some mud and patted it on my face and stuff. And we got the shot off, and all of a sudden I went, this is really itching and bothering me. She came to clean it off, and there were maggots.
Ugh.
All
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. The glory of making films.
It's all over the place. But
I've got 1 million from CUJO.
let's have a few more. Come on, one more.
Oh, my God.
Then,
Well,
then
all right.
I'm going to ask you a few, but just random because they're not about the big movies.
Okay. The Howling.
Okay. You mean American Werewolf? What a way to begin the thing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
Okay.
So in The Howling, there's this big scene where I'm in the car and all the werewolves are attacking
I remember.
the car.
I love that movie. By the way, I totally love that movie.
Thank
and
you.
you were you still are. What a cute chick. You're like the perfect, like, I don't want to say damsel in distress because most of your parts you're stronger woman, but nonetheless, it's like, oh my God, are those werewolves going to eat her up?
Yeah, well, that's what we were hoping. That's the moment we were hoping.
Right.
So we're in rehearsal right before we're going to shoot it. So I'm all into it and hysterical.
Right.
And some, pardon my French, asshole thinks it's funny to put a blank in the rifle that I'm using.
Okay.
So we're
For no reason at all, because you're just...
Yeah. So we're in a car, and I have to go through the motions of when I'm going to shoot, and I shot toward, one of the werewolves, and the gun goes off. The reverberation within the car
Ear
is
splitting.
horrendous.
Right.
But the shock of it going off, and that's around the time, if you remember, some other actors had been killed
Right.
with guns on the set,
Yeah.
farting around, shooting.
I remember.
Yeah. So I lost it.
Oh, wow.
I lost it for probably 2 hours.
Right.
Fortunately, my fiance, Christopher Stone, who I was married to for 18 years before he passed,
Oh, okay.
was on set. And so they went to get Christopher, and he found out what happened, and he turned around and he said, "They're off the set now. They're not coming back.
Right.
I'm taking her to, and we'll let you know when she's ready."
Good for you and good for him.
I mean, if he hadn't been there,
Oh, man.
Chris just had a way of always bringing me back into
Back,
balance.
yeah.
We did a film together in Poland
Okay.
where we had to shoot in the salt mines.
Okay.
And the salt mines are way, way under the ground, right? So they take you down in what they call an elevator, which is an open air wooden
Right.
shaft.
The shaft, right.
With one light
Yep.
hanging. So we get, and we're packed in like sardines, and I'm the only one that speaks English.
Oh, wow.
So we get halfway down, and the thing goes, "Fudump!" The light goes out, and everybody starts screaming.
Really?
And by the time we get to the bottom, which was probably 20 minutes before they got it going again,
Right.
Dee was hysterical. Chris was already down shooting.
Right.
So they went to get Chris, and he came over, and I'm going, "I didn't do it. Nobody knew it. and he just took his hand and went whop across my face.
Oh my God.
And I got
snapped out.
I snapped out of it because I was so pissed. I said, if you ever hit me again, he says, yeah, come on. He called me Pupper. Come on, Pupper. You're okay now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so early years, all right? I know this is like so off topic, but just for fun.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, no, but it's fun. It's
okay.
Nothing. Come on, we're doing the same gig here. So how did you deal with the fact that as a young girl, real pretty young girl, how did you deal with all the suitors, all the characters who must have come and tried everything to hook up, as they say today?
You know, I honestly have to tell you, I never had really bad experiences.
That's great.
There was one gentleman in New York who was in his 60s, I think. And I went to his office about a part, and I walked in, and he went over and locked the door.
Oh, okay.
And I said, sir, why did you lock the door? He said, well, I thought we needed a little time alone. I said, I am here to audition. I'm from Kansas, but I'm not stupid.
Right.
And he said, well, I wanted to get to know you a little more intimately. And I said, I think you better unlock the door now because I don't want to have to start screaming.
Good for you.
And he looked at me like, who is this little broad who's nobody, who needs a part? But I always knew who I was.
Right.
I knew I didn't sell that. I knew I didn't want to sell that.
No, but you must have had a vibe and aura. You must have been able to deal with this. I'm not talking about the nasty stuff, the evil guy who locks his door, but in general, I mean,
Yeah, well, I was lucky. I met Christopher pretty early on.
Okay.
I had been married twice.
Prior?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't follow that part. I just know you're an amazing performer. I didn't.
A wonderful gentleman in Kansas who was a high school teacher.
Wait, this is before you moved to New York?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there was a lot going on in Kansas before New York.
Well, look, the only way back in the 60s to get out of your house was to get married.
Right.
Which is not why I did it. But
that's funny.
It did maybe have a little something to do with wanting my own autonomy.
You must have been a child bride then.
Yeah, 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think in 19, not just because I grew up in Italy, okay? So my first language is Italian. If we could speak Italian, it'd be so much fun. But no one says older. It's more mature. I mean, there's a whole different way to approach it. The word retirement doesn't exist. There's a whole.
I like it.
There's a
Maybe I'll move there.
That's why a lot of them live until their mid to late 90s. It's a whole different. You're good in LA, but visit Italy more often because it's such a beautiful. Have you ever shot there? Ever made a movie?
I've never shot there, but I've definitely vacationed there.
300 movies. You think one would have been shot in Italy?
Wouldn't you?
Just one.
And Hawaii. I'm still trying to get a job in Hawaii, my favorite place on earth. Do you think?
Which island? Where do you like?
Oh, I love Maui.
Maui.
And
beautiful.
My heart just
aches
for what's happened. But anyway, so Christopher and I had both worked for this director.
Right.
Who was doing Chips. And he called both of us and said, gosh, will you do me a favor and come in and do? So we both said yes. Christopher was very established. I was still, making my name. And he spent the whole week trying to direct me. And on the way back, he had to ride in the same car with me, God forbid. And he said, well, have you done anything? I said, yeah, I just had this great episode of Lou Grant on. And it's like time stopped. He went, my God, you played that hooker on Lou Grant. I went, yeah, that was me. Did you see it? He said, I called my then wife and said, look at this girl. She's going to be a major star.
Oh, wow.
Now, he had since left her and divorced her.
Okay.
So this is back in the day, right, when we all had beepers.
Okay. I was there.
And
fucking annoying. Beep, beep,
yeah, and you had to go through services, answering
Mm-hmm.
services, and they were never supposed to give your information out to anybody.
Right.
Well, Christopher could get gold out of a beaver's butt.
Wait. We have to stop for a minute. I've not heard that. Get gold out of a beaver's butt.
Yeah.
Just think about that. That's pretty cool. I'm sorry.
Southern.
That's good.
So by the time I got home from the set, there were 24 roses sitting at my door. And then the phone rang. So he got my address. He got my phone number.
Wow.
And I said, well, God, thank you so much for the roses. He said, I want to take you to dinner. Can you go out tomorrow night? I said, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Maybe Saturday night? He said, no, I've got a standing card game with all my buddies. And I said, well, call me next week. Maybe we can work something out.
Right.
He paused for about 10 seconds.
And canceled the game.
Never mind. I'm not going to the game.
Good for him.
Yeah.
For a moment, I was losing hope in this story.
And
that's so
we
sweet.
were never apart after that.
That's such a sweet story.
I mean, you couldn't help it if you were a woman.
Right.
I mean, we, for example, walked by this amazing old convertible car. And I don't know if you remember Christopher, but he looked like a Greek god.
Yeah,
blonde,
super good looking dude. Yeah,
marine. And
yeah.
heart of gold.
Right.
And I said, you'd look really good in that car. He went out and bought it and drove up in front of my house the next day in it.
As we say in Italy, molto romantico.
Yeah.
Molto romantico.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful story. Wow. How do we segue into... Let's see. We talked about some of the movies I have not heard of, but we got to talk about E.T. for a minute. I mean, just for the fans who want to hear about that. So...
Our Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, yes. So I was friendly with Carlo Rambaldi. There's a whole history of behind the scenes, and I've been involved with a lot of these effects guys. I don't know if you ever worked with Stan Winston. He was a very close friend, and he, a lot of awards, a lot of movies. And
yes.
So I was aware of E.T. kind of from that end of it, and of course, I happened to be in Italy when it premiered, and I had to see it. I just had to see it. And once again, they had the same voice because I got a good ear for voice actors. So
and it's really hard to.
It's hard. She did a great job.
voice.
Oh my God, I'm crying watching the movie. So how did that happen? It was just a phone call. It was.
It was. Steven works very, very far ahead. While he's doing one project, he has 4 or 5 that he's working on in some capacity, and he knew he wanted everybody on screen to be a kid.
Right.
And he thought I had that
quality,
vulnerability, that kid-like quality. So when I auditioned for Used Cars, he just tucked me away for E.T.
Wow.
Thank you.
So, yeah, un miracolo, because it's always a miracle when things combine and come together. That is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect situation.
It was.
And that was a long shoot, though, right? That I remember hearing that
About
it was
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. That's not terrible.
No. What was interesting about E.T. is we shot it in sequence for the kids. And you don't usually,
No.
A lot of times you'll shoot the last scene the first day on set.
Right.
So that was really nice. And we worked from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, which on most sets is very reasonable.
Right.
As you know.
Yeah.
So, and we shot it in L.A.
Right.
So it was, I'll never forget the first day I walked on the set and I turned to the right and there were 3 or 4 men standing around E.T. And I stopped in my tracks and I looked. This thing had a soul.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how Carlo did it, but it was magic. It really was like working with another actor.
You know, I have to let people know who are younger fans who are so used to these movies that are all CGI, actors have to perform against green screen or they're not with the real, monster or creature or whatever the movie's about. E.T. was a real live character practically in every shot.
Yeah.
So you got to work with that, which is, doesn't happen anymore.
And we had a mimist that did all the hand gestures. We had 2 or 3 little people.
Right.
One person that worked in E.T. was a young boy who had no legs.
Wow.
And they put him in upside down.
Oh,
in the cot, and he walked on his hands,
Right.
and that's how we got that great walk
Oh, my
of
God.
ETs.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
And did you feel when you were making this? This is like the typical question.
No.
No, you really? You didn't feel like this was going to be what the phenomenon
Well,
that
you
it became?
knew it was special. I
Right.
knew. Look, I had to go behind closed doors to read the script. And I called my agent and I said, I don't think it's going to do a lot for me, but I think it's going to do a lot for the world. And I want to be a part of this movie.
Wow.
Duh.
Well, you were
Yeah.
kind of incorrect.
Well,
you're correct in the E.T.
is the star
Right.
of E.T.
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, but
And then
you have-
Henry, and then
but
the
you-
rest
but,
of us.
Yeah, but you have millions of people and endless generations watching that movie. And I
Absolutely.
think
It's like I said, our Wizard of Oz.
Yes, absolutely.
It'll go on forever.
Forever.
And like the Wizard of Oz, it teaches what we all need to know
Absolutely.
right now. Keep your heart open.
Yeah.
Think happy thoughts.
Yep.
Like in Peter Pan,
Yeah.
we have the power all along, Dorothy.
Always.
Everything starts within us.
And if you're healthy enough to adapt that and make that part of your life, it's what
Magical.
Yeah.
It's freedom.
And, and I feel bad. A lot of people can't get there for all sorts of reasons. It's
Well,
tough.
I think people can't get there because we're not taught
Right.
to get there. We're
Right.
taught that if you keep yourself small, people love you more. God loves you more.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? If you shouldn't ever come out and say, I want this, I want this. We're just taught those things because our parents were taught those things
Right,
and
right.
their parents. But it's just not true. It says in the good book, these miracles and more will you do.
Right. Right.
We can't perform the miracles of our lives if we keep holding ourselves small.
Yeah.
And if you live large through love, you cannot misdirect that.
And in a way, without getting off on a really not an entertaining tangent, it's kind of the root of all evil. It's not just lack of education. It's just kids. Some kids just don't have the right parents. The parents don't know. They didn't get what they needed. So many lost souls.
I don't think anybody gets what they need. I don't think there's a listener out there, maybe one or two, whose parents said, you're amazing. Ask for everything you want.
Right.
You can do anything. You're
Right.
smart. You're talented. The world's going to bring you whatever you want. None of
Right.
us are taught that.
Right. But you had an amazing upbringing. Right? You had some.
Yes and no. I had a mother who, and a father who encouraged me, partly because they were very, very poor, and they started me modeling at 4 years old.
Right.
And
But they encouraged you. They were a positive
they did.
force in your life.
They were a positive force, and my father was a severe alcoholic
Okay.
from the time I was 6 on.
Okay.
ended up committing suicide.
Okay.
My younger brother just committed suicide 3 years ago. You know, that's my story. What I do with my story is what's important.
Right. Right.
I have a friend who, she's got a great line. If you keep telling your story, you keep living your story.
That's a good line.
And most of us just use our story as why I can't.
Right.
Instead of, wow, this is my story. This is what I learned from my story that I don't want.
But you have some magical wind in your sails, wherever that came from. You know, you do. And I think people who, I don't want to keep going back to William Forsythe because he's such a crazy interview, but, you know, how do people get up and think of these things? And there's something that you can feel. I can walk through that wall right now if I need to, you know, to get to the other side. There's something that people are born with, and they can work on it, and they can find that strength. But everyone needs a little dose of one parent who helped them or encouraged them, a grandparent, something in their life,
my
in their early
grandmother
life.
helped raise me. My mom was working the whole time, but my mother was a force to be reckoned with.
Well, there you go.
And an amazing actress.
Your mother?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
In
okay.
community theater. She was a secretary by trade. But I remember the moment that I watched my mother. She used to do these half-hour, what we would call monologues, religious readings at our church at Christmas and Easter. And I was sitting in the audience watching her do this 30-minute recitation on the crucifixion.
Oh, wow.
And people from 4 states would come around and come down to see my mother do these. And I looked around, and there were all these adults weeping. And I went, oh, I want to do this.
Well, there you have it.
I want to move people like my mommy does.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I remember that moment.
But what a blessing to have that in your life.
Yeah.
It is. So somehow between all of that, you burst out of your hometown. And look at you now, 300 movies later, and just rolling. I mean, come on, and telling these stories. It's a blessing.
It is.
Yeah, and they're obviously really difficult moments. You know, the passing of your husband, this thing about your brother. I mean, we have these moments, and I've had mine. My middle son lost a 12-year battle with addiction, and we tried everything in the world to, to help him. And
but you can love somebody, you can support them, you can encourage them, but ultimately, nobody can create for another person. They have to make that choice. But I can tell you, after my father's suicide, he visited me.
Okay.
And he said, Dee, don't worry. Actually, he said button nose, because that's what he called me.
Button nose?
Button nose.
Oh, button nose.
Because my nose was so little. And he said, don't worry about me. I'm fine. It's a part of what I needed to learn. I'm happy. Your job is to go and have a happy, productive life. And then he was gone.
I'm glad you had that experience.
Yeah.
I've had something similar, but what do we do? With the energy we're born with, which is in your case out of control. 300 movies, and we're here, just rolling forward. I guess part of it, the distraction and keeping busy, is important. I think for everyone, people who have these difficult moments in their life, and it's in a way, it's a blessing to have something you love doing. That fuels everything.
Yeah, we all need a purpose.
A purpose.
You lose your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's easier to dive into the victimhood.
Exactly. Wow. I don't know where to segue into. This was so sweet. This is a sweet way to end, I think, what we're talking about. I didn't think it would end this way, but I just want to say...
Well, that's the beauty of being open, You never know where we're going.
And that's why I love doing this. I'm busy doing my movies and running my little show, but sitting with people who I admire and who I've loved for years is just a treat. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. So sweet, I think. And cut.